we have to prepare as point and tip number 2, get ready and prepare for potential scenarios for what's coming in half 2 of this year. Okay, so having that in mind, this is Bitcoin's chart, of course. So let's like, this is some average going on. Okay, we can even close or hide the B Pro and instead turn the simple moving average, like just for your better understanding. Okay, this can be 20-week moving average, let's say 20-week average. Okay, let's get it this way. This way we can actually even, I don't know, make it like 50, right? Just not to get too much. We can even have it as a daily chart, perhaps, for your better understanding. Again, just we don't care about daily fluctuations, so we smoothen the chart out with the help of the linear chart, line chart. Having it here on the main 200-day average, okay, you can already project something that may potentially happen based on the historical records, right? Because me, as a technical traders, as a market technician, as a certified technical analyst, you know, I choose to rely on the history. I claim that the history is the best teacher, okay? So knowing that, I'm searching in the past reactions, you know, in the market's price, to try to somehow guess, project what may come with the greatest deal of greatest amount of probability, greatest chances, odds. Okay, so knowing that quarter 3 is usually corrective in the meaning of sideways, all right, there are even bigger chances that we're going to go sideways in this quarter, then we have already, well, understanding or some information about the extremes on the markets. Okay, we have some trading range established for high time frame. You can tell this is extreme high and extreme low somewhere in there. Okay, so far it's not broken. I still believe whatever happens in here, if it just sweeps the low again, you know, now I still believe Bitcoin is way too over or undervalued right now, underpriced, and eventually it is supposed to go back towards the mean reversion, which I also explained quite thoroughly, and many of you enjoyed that on the last Friday's webinar, which I displayed like a moment ago. So make sure you actually just go and discover all the past web videos. Okay, so I'm not going to waste time or repeating myself this time. But at one point, whatever happens in here, the mean reversion suggests that Bitcoin is going to be somewhere you know, around the average, because the averaged price of Bitcoin is about $45,000. So at one point, whatever happens, in my opinion, is going to come sooner than later. You know, you're going to have Bitcoin at $45,000 or approximately these levels. That is how it works. You know, whatever goes like, you know, extremely below the average, it's a buying opportunity. Whenever something goes extremely over the average, just like it did here or here, you know, it usually comes with a selling opportunity or here, right? So you can have an average, and you can tell that whatever goes too extremely high or too extremely low, it generates some trend fading opportunities, let's say, right? The extreme, you can short the extremes, extreme volatility to over the average, and you can buy the extreme volatility onto the average. That's how it works, the simplest mean reversion system. But knowing that at one point it's going to probably retrace, or should I say pull back to the upside, okay, towards its medium level, so $45,000. Okay, knowing that we also have the extremes defined between here, between the this 28.8 and the $65,000. This is defining our trading range and our area of interest. So you can expect perhaps in quarter 3 to not to be kind of like lazy, right? Based on what we discussed. So you can expect this market perhaps to, knowing that the mean reversion is supposed to happen, expect it to oscillate somewhere between first of all $30,000 and $45,000, or even, you know, here's the next resistance like $50,000. So it may actually oscillate around, you know, between $30,000 and $50,000, okay, for quarter 3. And if you look at it, of course, this is quite likely, because this $50,000 kind of like a region, okay, which is here, you know, approximately here, let's say, is somewhere in the middle, as the main reference point for the entire volatility of this past months. Knowing that this is supposed to be lazy, we are most likely going to oscillate in quarter 3, okay, somewhere, well, somewhere between the low, okay, and the medium point, the mid reference point, which is somewhere approximately between $30,000 and $50,000. So that is one potential scenario, okay, that we oscillate and suppress the price action inside the lower part of a range. And this is scenario number one. Okay, the scenario number two with the other color, if we will. Okay, the blue one is saying that we could perhaps, just oscillate somewhere higher in this. Okay, we could perhaps jump over that 50,000 kind of like a region, and we're going to oscillate in the upper half. Okay, the upper half, UH, and the lower half. So there is a chance, as the scenario number two, that we are going to oscillate over or at the average or over the average. Okay, scenario number two. Scenario number three, which is quite unlikely to happen, but you should always be ready for that, because you never know, if the aliens, Martians kind of like attack Earth, or there's some asteroid kind of like crashing into Earth, or some military conflicts like expanding and emerging, or some I don't fucking know, like some dinosaurs come alive. Like, who cares what that is? And what I'm saying is that you could never be 100% ready. You could never be 100% certain. You should always be 100% ready, okay, and do as much as you can to actually protect your capital. Okay, so you should project some most probable scenarios. So for you, knowing that we are supposed to be training in the range for the quarter three, those are the two kind of like main projection scenarios for trading in a range, assuming that we're going to trade in a range. Okay, but if things go south, let's say, USA attacks some China, places, I don't know, just put top of my head, right? Or some, again, another Israel and Palestine kind of like attacks, right? Or whatever other piece, like side of the planet happens to be in fire. This is going to affect the markets definitely. And if something like that happens, then nothing is going to stop. All my projections go to trash, right? Because nobody's going to stop selling just because I put a bullish chart, right? Nobody cares about that. So you should always have that in somewhere on the back of your head. And knowing that we're still, let's say, with the highest probability chances and odds that we're going to stay in the range, this is what defines the most probable two scenarios for us for quarter three. And what about quarter four? So quarter four, usually based on the seasonality, is the most volatile or volatile period after lazy quarter three. So you could expect in general in quarter three altcoins to perform not so well if Bitcoin remains here, and if it goes sideways either around this medium point or over that, it's going to build back the certainty in the people, and it's going to cause altcoins to recover way more than you could expect. But moving to the later part, to the quarter four, as I said, there's always the chance for you that, knowing that for so many reasons, which I keep explaining on YouTube and in the Burb Nest, in the exclusive corners, in the video reports and where not, you could expect most likely the upside breakout. Okay, I do not believe bull market is over. There are so many reasons to believe this is not over. Okay, you have the divergences, which I post on Twitter. Like, long story short, this is the third time that Bitcoin's been this undervalued, this oversold in the past 3 years. Okay, so on top of that, we have daily divergence. Okay, on the momentum versus the price. So it tells you that the bears are exhausted already, big time. And whatever happens on the intraday basis, I'm not going to tell you what's going to happen to Bitcoin in the next 5 minutes or an hour or a day or a week or a month even, right? But I'm kind of like rarely ever wrong about the long-term reversals. Long-term fundamental values is what defines the trends, right? The daily movements, intraday movements, price action, this is just a noise to that. Bringing back this range, that this can at one point break up, most likely, in my opinion, quarter four, just like it usually did for the historical records for Bitcoin seasonality to favor Bitcoin in late quarter 4 stage. So we could expect the upside breakout of this range, okay? And the technical range, technical measurement based on the measured rule movement, you could expect this move to bring you about $30,000 movement towards the upside, which is going to place you somewhere between $90,000 and $100,000 for the potential all-time highs. But it usually goes, overextended, just like it does overextend, the downside movements in the extreme fear. It does overextend the upside movement in the extreme greed as well. Right, so it may happen that we are going to overthrow $90,000 or $100,000, which is going to be definitely huge, amazing resistance to break, and insane milestone. Okay, from 5 figures to 7 to 6 figures. So huge emotional, psychological attachment and resistance. You can expect big sell-off like before 100K. Okay, but my guess is $90 to $100,000, $120,000, for the peak. Doesn't matter. That is the bullish scenario. You can tell if that happens, you should be ready, right? You should be usually accumulating something that is cheap, something that is oversold, something that is under valued, rather than something that is very high in the price. So you should be buying this, okay, not this. You don't buy into developing trends. You actually usually buy something after it declines and not after it rises. Again, knowing that, you could expect the scenario number 3, the projection number 3 for quarter 4, okay, to be rather bullish. But again, if things go south, right, for the same reasons, unpredicted events, black swans, some big conflicts popping up, then you could expect this to come down south, right, and prematurely the bull market. So if something like that happens, by the way, I do believe that the upcoming bear markets bottom is going to be somewhere between $10,000 and $14,000. You can actually screenshot that or record that, remember that simply, so we can compare later. You could expect, at one point, definitely Bitcoin to be way lower than it is right now. But in my opinion, it's not going to be this time just yet. Okay, I may be wrong, but that is something that you should be ready for and prepared. So if things go south, you should always be ready. Okay, for quarter 4 being kind of like, that destroying the Bitcoin, right? And if that happens, you should have some proper active portfolio management. Okay, you should never be all in. You should plan your investments. Okay, so in case the scenario number 3 doesn't come up, right, the scenario number 4 is something that you should be ready for. Okay, so here we just kind of like discuss a couple of potential scenarios, projections, make the most sense to you. Okay, and that is how you can plan your trades around that. Okay, it's very important. It's very important.